right, great. So the recorded started, but I'm Megan. I work with the Kelly Brush Foundation. Um, we host these active live projects every um, other week, discussing a different either sport or topic that people want to discuss. But it's a very informal conversation of everyone just kind of coming together and giving their best thoughts of what we're talking about. We have a few experts in the field on this call, so I had them come on to come join the call. A few others may pop in, but this is posted onto the Active Project and also onto YouTube. So if people search sled hockey, they can find this out and learn about all the resources and stuff that is going on that they may not know. Um, but yeah, right now I'm up in Burke, Vermont. We're here for the Kelly Brush mountain biking camp. So um, I'm excited for that. Thank goodness the weather's nice and sunny. But we can go around, introduce yourself, and I'll ask some questions, but just feel free to maybe explain your experience in sled hockey and we can go from there. Maybe let's start with you, Brendan.
My name is Brendan. I had a spinal cord injury in 2016. It was an L1 incomplete, so I just have a little bit of weakness in my the back of my legs. So when it came to playing a lot of sports that I grew up playing, I couldn't really participate at that same level. So I tried a bunch of different adaptive sports, but sled hockey was definitely like it's full contact, high speed, so it really kind of drew my attention. And I actually changed career paths after my injury, and now I'm a rec therapist at Northeast Passage, and we have a lot of different teams from youth, kind of introductory level sports, and then we have a top team that has a lot of Paralympic athletes, and we travel all over the country. I've been playing like 7 years. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go next since we're in the same screen. Katie, I was born with a vascular condition, and over the years, it just made it to where I wasn't able to walk on with my knee just because of the pain and everything. So, whenever I was 13, the doctors gave me two choices, either amputation above the knee or a knee fusion, and I chose amputation, and that really opened up a lot of different avenues for me to try different sports. And one of the sports that I tried was sled hockey, and I just fell in love with it. I was able to be fast on the ice, and I really liked the team aspect, and the contact sport was so much fun as well. And so I've been playing for about 10 plus years now. And I'm also playing for Northeast Passage, and I'm on the U.S. women's sled hockey team.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. Since you guys just went, how did you guys kind of get into that competitive version of sled hockey? You guys said you kind of started off with that, but like, how did you transition?
With my old program, what I did was kind of a try sled hockey event where I got to try it for the first time, and it was where you could really not worry about getting hit, and you're just in a sled, you're learning the dynamics of it. And then I started going to practices, and with my team, it wasn't grown where we had a youth team yet, because at the time I was maybe like 14, 15 years old. So I was automatically playing and practicing with the adult team. And then that kind of elevated. So you really had to learn pretty fast how to keep up with the adults and learn the game of hockey. And so that's I made that transition fairly fast whenever I went from trying it out and then practicing and then eventually playing my next year. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience, but I was injured when I was 23, so I was kind of introduced into a same adult league. We have I was from Boston, the Boston area, so I joined a Boston team that participates in the Northeast Sled Hockey League. So there's teams in like Maine, Boston, New Hampshire, Vermont, and so like it competes at more of like a kind of a mixed age range. So anywhere from like I think like 14 year old to somebody who's like I think there's some people out there who are in their 60s, 70s that still play. So it's a wide range. So I just like showed up to practices, just like Katie was saying, got used to the skills, and then joined that team after I had gone to and learned how to kind of skate, and then competed there for a few years, and then eventually moved up to Northeast Passage because they have a little bit of a higher level. So there are some different leagues out there throughout the country that play at a different competitive level. So you kind of start at a lower league and work your way up.
Okay, that's good to know too. Monica, why don't you go ahead just to explain, because I feel like you're also in the similar competitive league.
Yeah, definitely. Great to see everybody. This is awesome. So my name is Monica Quimby. I actually skied for the University of New Hampshire. That's how I got paralyzed. I have an L1 spinal cord injury when I was 19. I was a sophomore. And I really wanted to get back into sports that were competitive, like able-bodied. So my biggest thing was like, I wanted that same feeling back of how competitive it was. And I loved that it was fast-paced. I loved that it was an instant community. I loved that, like, as soon as you got on the ice, I loved that it was full contact. Like, that was so cool that, like, a lot of the rules, except for T-boning, is the only one that's different from regular hockey. So really, and the independence, that was my biggest thing, is that I had my independence back. I'm able to get on a rink anywhere in the country or international. And so like, that was my big thing. And I started down here actually in Florida. And so I moved down here and I was playing with a really high level team, and they just kind of like threw me in there and they're like, go. So it was really awesome. I got to learn with literally the best person in the world, Declan Farmer. He's down here in the Tampa Bay area. So that was really a gift. And I've been on the U.S. women's team with Katie. And I've also been on that team for over a decade.
Really cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like did you move to Florida to do sled hockey, or was that just a personal move?
So I actually moved to Florida initially because I did paracanoe. So
Oh,
I
okay.
competed in the Va'a, and I was actually recruiting people for Va'a, which is a Hawaiian style canoe.
Oh,
And I fell in love with sled hockey, so I actually jumped sports after
that's a
international.
little change
So,
of paths.
yep.
That's awesome. Really cool. Let's go to Scott.
I'm also in Central Florida. I'm a T4 para, injured in January of 2009.
Uh-huh.
I'm so busy with other adaptive sports, but I like to support all the adaptive sports. So when the Tampa team and the Orlando team have various clinics, I show up just to, throw my considerable mass in there and let people try to move me. And so
That's awesome. Do you like playing sled hockey? Have you played before?
I do. My problem with all the adaptive team sports is we get so little time together as a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
The basketball, the rugby, and I'm an assistant coach on the Orlando Clash quad rugby team.
Cool.
And I'm just more active than that. I need to be able to do something every day, and so I tend to gravitate towards the activities that I can head out and do by myself or with one other person and all that. So I am part of an adaptive CrossFit program at one of our local gyms here, and I hand cycle and I kayak, and those are all things that I can do every day, or at least when it's nice, right?
Yeah.
The team sports.
A little bit of cross training.
Right. Well, and again, you only have there's 168 hours in the week, and a certain number of those you sleep and eat, right? And then my coaching takes up. But like I said, I want to support all the adaptive programs. So whenever they have those public events, I show up again just to make the organizers feel good that they're not howling in the wind.
Well, yeah. Thanks for joining tonight. I appreciate it. Why don't we go to Lori?
Well, I've been building sledges since 1992, so we've been around for quite a while.
Hmm.
Um, how I got into this is our son was born with a cleft lip, which is not a disability, but we found later he had gross and fine motor skill problems, and we took him to the Children's Treatment Center here in town. And when I was in the waiting room, I'm seeing the kids with real disabilities coming in wheelchairs, and these kids are just normal kids full of beans. They want to play with the toys. And I thought I would just love to build some fun stuff for these kids to play with. And it didn't start as sledge hockey. It started, I made a thing called the whiz wheel. You sit on it and you got two cranks. There was a plastic version of that out there and they just trashed that. So I made them one that could stand up to what they could give out. And I just thought if I can build some fun stuff that will really help them develop, and it's just looking at the thing. I wanted them to say, I want to try that, and that's the way I got started. I made a lot of really oddball things, just one-offs, hand pedal tricycles. This was a long time ago. There wasn't a lot of equipment out there back then. And I was always doing it part-time. I had a full-time job. Um, but I thought I would really love to do this full-time. And then they hired a rec lady and she wanted to get sledge hockey going. And that was back in, I think, at least 92. And she showed me what they had, and it was very crude. And I thought, well, I can do crude. And so I came up with my version, and I was not happy with it. They didn't work very well. They didn't do anything very well. And I'm seeing little kids out there that don't have any power. And I'm thinking, I want to build something that that little guy can make go. I want him to see him really be able to make that thing fly. So I've gone through so many different versions and so many different the
Design.
blade systems. We were I was buying CCM ProLite 2 blades and modifying them to go on the sledge. And I thought, you know what? These just aren't working that great. I'm sure we could come up with something better that would perform better. So I looked into blades and everything about them. And so I designed some blades. I wanted CCM to make the blades for me. So I called them and you've got no volume and they just can't even look at you. They don't even know what to do with you.
Hmm.
And so I said, well, where can I get the steel? Well, he says, I don't know. We have everything made, so we don't really see any of this. So it took me a while, but I found the best steel available, and it was in Sweden. And so I ordered 1,000 pounds of that steel, and I came up with a lot of different designs for the blades, and we're testing them out and to see where we can get speed and handling. So we finally came up with that combination, and it changed the game completely. It got faster, and they could you know corner a lot quicker. It just made a huge difference in the game, and to see those little guys be able to just give it one shot and glide, that was so rewarding. Of course, the top end guys are rewarded too.
Hmm.
The better you can make that go, the better it is for everybody. So that's how I got started.
Really neat. Cool. I'm sure over the few years, it's so interesting to see. I want to see the pictures from the very start to now, but it'd be cool to see those.
Yeah. I've got them out here in the showroom. I can't take
That's
this
awesome.
laptop, but I love to show you.
Yeah, that'd be a cool picture to have up. Really nice. So, um, oh, Max just popped on. Do you want to introduce yourself, Max?
Hey, how's it going, Max? I only have like really limited experience with sled hockey, but I think my experience kind of sparked a lot in my the rest of like the adaptive sports I've done. I was in the when I was in the hospital at Spalding, I got the opportunity to go out to the rink, and I think Brendan, you were there, and um, you took me out on the ice and showed me what was like possible after injury and being active and that you can get out and be competitive. Um, So I just wanted to like pop my head in and see what was going on
Yeah.
with sled hockey and stuff like that.
Yeah. I know. I think that's kind of the first thing as the sled hockey so low to the ground, and a lot of people see it and they expect, what the heck, how am I going to do that right away? What do you guys have to share kind of for newer people wanting to try out sled hockey? What would you say to them, or like what would be some suggestions? Anyone can pop in, it doesn't matter.
Well, one thing I would say, we made the blade system so it's very easy to adjust the balance point front to back on the blades.
Mm.
And that is a critical factor, especially for a first-time player. Okay. You need that balance point set because that's all about performance. That's going to make it go fast and that's going to make it turn.
Mm.
So it's critical for the first-time player to get in a sled they've set the balance point, and it's quite easy to do because that first experience, if you get on the thing and it doesn't perform, you're going to say, you know what, I tried that. It's no, not for me.
Yeah.
It's got to go fast and it's got to handle. So we stress that all the time. You just have to make sure you get that balance point set up, and we're always watching when we go to tournaments. We're watching all the players, and if we spot somebody with the nose dragon or something, we will get a hold of him and set that balance point. What a difference that makes. It's just huge.
Another
Definitely.
thing too is stick length. I find people often like will start playing the sport and use full length sticks. So a lot of players cut them to their individual height. So if like you're really young or like you're on the smaller side, you're not going to want to use those full length sticks. This is actually what the sticks look like. This is my stick here. I almost have a full length stick, but you got two spikes on the bottom here. But as you're starting out, if your program doesn't have shorter sticks, you can maybe ask them to cut them down and put picks in. The unique picks are better than the mobility ones, in my opinion. But that's a big thing too. It's like you'll see it's hard to move if you're not putting like the right kind of stride into. So the stick length is also important when it comes to the bucket as well.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on picks. You're bang on there. Those picks are critical. We went through so many different designs, and we started out just using stainless steel, and it just wouldn't hold an edge. Those picks we do, that's skate blade steel. That's the high-end skate blade steel that we use, and yeah, that makes all the difference. It's funny, that little pick, that's all about your speed, your power. It's just incredible. Yeah.
I think another thing to set up a new player for success is how wide apart the blades are, because you don't want to put a brand new person on a pretty thin set of blades. So if you widen the blades out for them, they're going to have better balance, and that's going to give them more confidence while they're skating, and that they're not going to be worried about falling over as much. And so I think that is setting them up for success as well, making sure it's a little bit wider than someone who's in competition level.
Well, we're talking about that. I have some visuals here, so I can just might as well use it because we set it up. So this
I think that would be super helpful. Thanks, Brendan.
This is an example of one of those beginner sleds. So I'll show you Katie and ours next, but you can see this is pretty low to the ice. It's not that high off the ground compared to mine here, which this is a higher level sled. It's called the Ballistic. So I'm really higher off the ground as you get used to it. So that's a different balance point. And then here you can see that my blades are like an inch apart. So they're a lot closer as you get better at skating and more balanced on your sled. But this is like a one solid piece system that I have to kind of custom order it. But as you're starting out, you can see that there's like little rivets here. And so you can just flip the blades to make them closer. And then you can easily, it's just like a screw self-bolted system that you widen the blades back and forth. You can slide your nose piece in and out. The nose piece is pretty adjustable by a pin system. So you can just take You could take the pins in and out here, and then the nose piece slides up and down. And there's the different accommodations you can do, like a foot strap, a seat cover, and then your belts just get strapped on here. You want to show yours? And another accommodation is Katie's sled.
So mine is more of a custom-made bucket that I have. So I went in and got this molded by a prosthetist, but my blade system, I also have one of the one-piece frames, and so I have the skinnier blades, and then we found like the right balance point where whenever it's bolted onto my bucket. And so we have a different strap system where the straps are on top of the lap guard and bolted in rather than crisscrossing it. So.
And for skating, we're kind of specifically talking about sled hockey, but there is like recreation levels and a lot of other adaptive equipment that we can have and use to get everyone out on the ice. We have a sled here. One thing is a push bar. So this is just a bar that gets tucked into the back of the sled, and then it's got grips on the top. So then you can adjust here and then push someone on the ice if they want to get around. So we have a player on our college level team who only has use of one of his hands, but he plays on our competitive team being pushed around, and he uses his right hand to play. And one of our coaches pushes him around. And then this one has a good example, kind of like everything to help stability wise. Some sleds have high backs to support your back as you're skating. This one has anti-tip bars, a little platform to hold the knees a little more comfortable. It even has a headrest, so it kind of allows anyone to get out on the ice and play. So there's a lot of different accommodations and adaptations you can use to get somebody out on the ice. I think that one has everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
That's what we call our specialty sled.
Yeah.
It's a good commercial for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
A big thing too is doing those clinics is to make sure people are having fun, right? So I think the biggest thing too is when people get really nervous about falling over, they're so anxious to fall over, and it's inevitable. You're gonna fall over in sled hockey, especially when you're first starting. If you're pushing on one side, you're just going to tip over. So like to make it more fun, I love to like fall over, flop over myself and like help them and show them how to get up on their own. And like usually either by the first or the second clinic, they're usually able to do it by themselves. So really just seeing all those little wins. Another big one is always doing a shootout. People love to shoot on the goalie, no matter what, sometimes just stationary, sometimes doing skating drills, but they love shooting. So just making it fun, really. And this sport is so much fun. So it's really easy to get involved and enjoy it at any level, like just like those guys showed.
Yeah.
I do monthly, at least monthly adaptive recreation clinics for all kinds of activities. And over and over and over again, I mean, it's a victory just to get the people there. But then the next thing is almost always they're scared of the transfer. And it doesn't matter if they're brand new, injuries, or if they've been a while, right? Because, you know, whether it's a sports chair with a lot of dump or getting down into a sled, you know, and they're always, you know, oh, I can't do that. And then, you know, nothing against you, Brendan, but you walking around will turn off a lot of people in a wheelchair because they're going, oh, well, he's a, you know, for all intents and purposes, an AB, right? And so you have to say, hey, you know, we got people that can help you get into your chair, right? And then, you know, if they're looking at you as you demonstrated, they go, oh, I could never do it as good as you, right? And I just have to remind them, okay, the first time in the hospital you transferred to a wheelchair, what was that like? And you know, how is it today when you transfer from your bed to your chair, right? Anything you do a bazillion times, you get better at, right? So, you know, my first transfer into any sports chair for a new piece of equipment is always ugly, right? And if they were videoed, we could make a great compilation for YouTube of how to make things look awkward. And you just have to take the new people and say, hey, every one of us here that you think is really smooth, we did it really ugly the first time, and we really did it ugly the second time. And it only was after getting in and out of the equipment a bunch of times that we got to the point that you're seeing today. You just didn't get to see all our mistakes. You're seeing us when we're, and you just have to, make them feel at ease, because they're nervous. Like I said, it's a huge victory, even if they don't get into the piece of equipment. If you just got them there to the clinic for the first time, and hopefully you can get them back and get them in. And then, like Monica said, all these things are a blast. Feeling the air on your face when you're pushing in a sports chair or on the sled, or any of these things, they come back with the biggest smiles on their face after they've done it all. But it's almost like being in a deer blind. You just got to be real quiet and gentle, and not spook them before you can get them into the piece of equipment, right? So
they have events here for able-bodied. They want able-bodied to try sled hockey, and it's pretty funny seeing them get into it. It's not easy to get into it. That's, even if you don't have a disability, it's awkward.
Yeah, all those are very good points. I feel like it's nice to hear that also from people that have had a ton of experience, because I think that's the most intimidating thing that I hear from so many patients is, I'm not doing that. Like, that's way too much to get in a sled and be competitive the way that you guys are at that competitive level. But it doesn't all have to be like that. It's nice to have some fun and also do drills and whatnot. I feel like it's the whole thing of sports. Why we do it is because it's enjoyable. So yeah, I see that Pam, you're on. Do you want to just introduce yourself, and you can share if you have any experience with sled hockey or if you're new?
Sure. I'm Pam Williams. I live in Southern California, Ventura. I don't have any experience with sled hockey. I have experience with adaptive biking, and some kayaking and jet skiing, and that's about it.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm happy you could join.
Thanks.
Yeah. What's some other things? I feel like, do you guys have any other questions with like equipment that people, what's like one thing that you found like super helpful to have when you're playing sled hockey, like that you wish that you knew sooner? Is there anything? You guys just went over
the right bag. Honestly, the right bag. Because I started off with a duffel bag that I literally would sling over my neck, and I would wheel my wheelchair, and I would try to have either the sled balanced on top of it somehow. And it was like, no. So now I have like a system where I literally have a carabiner and I clip that to my backpack. That's also how I do with my luggage and all that kind of thing. And so I just have the carabiner, clip it to the bag, and it's a roller bag, a hockey bag. It's a goalie upright bag. And that was a game changer. Some people use the goalie bag. Some people use the like golf bags. Like, there's all different things, but if it has wheels on it, life changer for sure.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Something I learned in like my first few seasons of playing was sharpening your blades is very important. So you can set different profiles, different depths and sharpness of blades. So if you skate a lot, that'll get really dull quick. And everyone has their own preference. Like, I skate at 1 inch, to give an example. So like every time I cut it at 1 inch, I feel good in the sled. But if I was to do another depth, it would take me a while to get used to it. So that's like a really important thing that I didn't realize I don't even think I sharpened it all my first few years until I started playing at a higher level with other players and like kind of were educating me. So that was something I learned it really changes, because a lot of programs don't have the time to be sharpening all their program buckets. So as you start to get into it more and more, sharpening your blades is important.
Do you do it yourself, or is that?
You can take it to, you just pop the blades off of your sled, and most places now, they don't use the stone. They have like the automatic one, so they just plop them right in, like I go to Pure Hockey.
Interesting. Cool. Another good one.
one thing on the blades and sharpening, we were at a tournament one time, and because it's they're fixed and it's not stand up. In a lot of cases, the sharpener will start rounding up the front of the blade, and they think they're doing you a favor, but they're actually not. The front of the blade is your speed portion, same with the back. And if you take it up, you just lost that bit of blade for the speed. You want to hold that profile. The other thing was the equipment person took all the blades off and took them and got them sharpened and brought them back, and they put them all back on. And we started getting people saying, my sled's turning. It's not going straight. What happened is they mixed up the blades. And when your blades are fixed on that blade holder, if they got the ones had more sharpening on it, you've got a different rocker on one side than you do on the other. So it's a nightmare. Like you just can't sort that out. And the little notches you see in the blades, there's a couple little notches. Those notches, you just got to make sure when the person puts it in the machine, the notch is the same way. Okay, so you don't want that notch there on this one here, because if they change the rocker over time, because they're fixed, you're not standing up. They're stuck there. You'll run into a problem. But as long as they know that, there's no big deal.
That's a really good thing to pay attention to as well. Rolando, are you there if you want to introduce yourself? No worries. How often do you guys travel for sport? That's something that is also another thing, because I feel like a lot of people are talking about traveling and stuff like that. Like on a competitive level, how often do you guys have to do that?
A lot.
Yeah.
And you guys all smiled, so I was like,
Just
And-
with our Northeast Passage team, we have like our top league plays in like Chicago, St. Louis, Nashville used to be a place, Colorado, and we're another team. Then we have another team that goes to like Connecticut. We go to Philadelphia and New Jersey a lot. And then our local team, which I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a drivable distance. We go to like Maine, Vermont, and like kind of stay on the East Coast area.
And then each year there's always, depending on what competitions your teams do, there's always the NHL Classic where if your team, I think, is affiliated with an NHL stand-up professional team, then you go and compete in this tournament. And then at the very end of the year, usually in April, but I think around April, May, there's nationals, and there's different tiers that your team will play and compete against other teams that you may not typically play against, which is a cool opportunity to play against people from different parts of the country.
And I think Sled Classic is in Dallas, Texas this year, and then like Nationals is in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's really interesting. I just wanted to share Rolando's message. He accidentally thought this was about biking. Before my accident, I was at 500 miles plus per month, looking to get back at this, but this is interesting. Going to listen in. No worries. I'm happy you can join. It's always nice to have people to listen in and join. And every other week we do a different active live. So we discuss a different sport on every call. So it always differs. But yeah, this is also interesting, and I think this will be super helpful for several either active sled hockey players or people that are new to the sport. With the unique inventions, is this like the number one or like one place to get equipment? If you want to explain that a little bit in like the process of purchasing equipment or finding the right fit for you.
Yeah, we ship all over the world. We're probably the biggest, I guess, and the biggest in this sport isn't all that big. It's surprising because they don't wear out. Okay, when you buy a sled, they just don't wear out. You can buy parts for them. So when you see all those sleds out there, you're seeing years of product. And in some cases, they should have thrown some of those out, and they keep them. And that's a big problem because the old ones didn't perform. And if you keep them, then you bring out some kids to try it out for the first time and stick them in something that doesn't perform. That's very bad. because they were long gone. Like when I see them out there, I'm thinking, oh no, because they'll last forever. It's
Hmm.
not good.
Hmm.
We're constantly changing the blade system that you've shown on there on the Rev. We've actually changed the blade system again. Now it's still keyed in, but we've got a different blade holder because we found that some of the kids that they were getting really good on the program sled, and they wanted those blades, they would go into 1 inch, okay? And they wanted to go down below like the high end guys, okay? So we changed the blade holder. So now you can take one of those blade holders off and put the single blade holder in the middle and bolt it on in the middle. And you can go down just as narrow as the high end guys go,
Hmm.
or you can space it out to 3/4 of an inch. So
Oh,
you can now go down below 1 inch. So because some of these guys, they're not going to be able to buy that high end sled, but they wanna, run on that narrow blade system. So we're always looking to improve, and they all are now running long blades. We don't run the short blades only if it's a very small sled. We'd run the shorter blades. The difference is only it's 10, I think 10, and the long blades are 11 1/4, something like that. But we were getting some big players on the program sleds, and the long blades work better, so we just switched over. We're always looking to improve, and you actually don't see everything we do. We don't show a lot of stuff because we're doing prototype stuff, and you just don't have time to answer a lot of questions. Where I'm working on some oddball things right now, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So
Hmm.
it takes a while. I've worked on several different kneeling sleds for guys that can sit on their legs, and that's what I'm working on right now. Another version of it. Every time I do something, I see there's something else we need to do here. It's not working 100% the way we want it to work. So, and I don't know if it's ever going to work, but I'm going to keep trying until I can put it together. I've done some that have worked, but everybody is so different, you know.
Yep.
And that's where we're into trying to make buckets now. We have the technology that we can make. We used to do this by hand. We have CNC machines now, and we can do CNC. But we're trying to make the average player that can't afford a very expensive one-off bucket. We're
Hmm.
trying to come up with shapes that are very good and with some padding that you can make them really good. So that's what we're working on right now. That fit. I'm looking at that fit, and a lot of the buckets you don't see. When we go to tournaments, we take all these buckets that we've done,
Hmm.
and we try people in them. And that's the other thing. Like you really have to sit in it to try it. I can't tell you this one will work for you. I just can't.
Yeah.
Uh, one tournament we were at, I was measuring up a guy from Minnesota, and he had to have his legs bent. And I said, I want to try making you something here to see if it'll work. If it doesn't, no problem. You can send it back. Anyway, so I made a tilt bucket that
Hmm.
kept his legs up, but his back was still straight. And it worked really well. And so I know there's be other guys, and we've got, I think, 2 sizes in that bucket, and it's worked really well so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to come up with some different shapes that you can fool around with and make a really nice fit. Now, we have done some really high end where a university 3D scanned some players and they sent us the scan data and we did the buckets. But that's a fairly expensive one-off deal.
Yeah.
But we're learning all the time, and the more we do like that, the better it gets.
So neat to hear the thought that goes into it. Especially I'm sure with all these competitive athletes, they've tried a variety of different sleds. So I'm sure it's nice to kind of hear the thought process behind it all.
And there is one more company. We tend to use a lot of unique invention equipment here, but Mobility Sports is another sled company that provides some kind of opportunities for equipment for programs.
Thanks, Brendan.
Yeah.
That's great. Um, he said, "Did I hear playoffs are in Dallas? Is that true?"
Not playoffs, but
NHL Sled
the
Classic, yeah.
NHL Sled Classic.
Mhm.
If you look that up, if you're in that area.
I'll have to post that to the Active Project.
November 7th to the 11th.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Cool, thank you. Do you guys have any questions for each other? I feel like I don't want to be the one talking. You guys are answering all my questions perfectly, so thank you guys so much.
I think I just wanted to mention that there is cost involved as well. So like that's one of the big things too, because a lot of us play not only for our teams, but if you're also playing in league play or if you're doing those travel, sometimes that there is some offset of costs. Like our team, it's $950 for the season. So that includes that includes the NHL Sled Classic and Invitational, and it includes nationals, but it doesn't include league play. So league play is on your own, but there are, just to mention that, that is something to consider as well. And, amazing organizations like the Kelly Brush Foundation, you guys are able to provide those kind of grants for, equipment and stuff like that, which is amazing. You guys actually equip my one of my teammates. She's 11 and she got her first new sled, and it's really exciting. So seeing her out playing with that on the ice recently this past weekend was a joy.
That's awesome. Great to hear that.
Actually, my sled here, I broke my frame last season, and Kelly Brush, I got a grant to get the new ballistic frame, so that was exciting too. So grants are a big option. Challenged Athlete Foundation is also a big one that we try and send people to every year. You just need like a letter from somebody in your organization and some medical documentation, but they give out a ton of money each year. So there are grants available because adaptive sports equipment is expensive, and like just being involved in sports, you can offset some of that cost. Even travel cost, you can write into the Challenged Athlete Foundation, like just for that seasonal cost you can cover. So always pushing for grants is a great way to help people involved.
Definitely. Yeah. We had a call a few weeks ago about grant opportunities, and there was several of the Victoria, Victory, and there was a few high fives. Everyone was on there, but it was it's so nice to see how much they want to help people and how much money they have to give out. So it's cool to see that. And Kelly Brush also does scholarships. So if you want to try it or if you want to travel, they'll give $500 to go to any travel expenses or to play the sport too. So that's always another option. Yeah, it's so fun talking about this, especially you guys have so much experience. So thank you guys so much for helping out and joining tonight. Do you guys have anything else before I'll let you guys all go?
There's a US tournament coming, so like the top level of the sport is like there's a national team that plays at different international events, but so they're going to be Australia again.
Yeah, I think they're in Czech right
They're
now.
in Czech, yeah.
Yeah, they're traveling to Czech.
So they stream those games online. So if you're interested in kind of seeing the top level of sports, really exciting. They're very good. I think Declan Farmer's mentioned earlier. He's a very good sled hockey player. They're fun to watch. We have a bunch on our team too. It's just to see that really, really high level of sport. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead. No. I was gonna say, usually if you look up, I want to say the Instagram page is it Para Ice Hockey, I think. They will tell you where you can stream those. A lot of times it's on YouTube or it's through another page where you can pretty easily access it. And then I think either 2 weeks after this upcoming national competition, it's going to be the Women's World Para Ice Hockey Challenge, which will be happening in Norway. So, and that will be happening, I believe, October 25th through the 28th. So, if you want to watch that development grow, it should be some pretty fun competitions level there too.
Those are great. Thank you. Good. Well, I just want to thank you guys all so much for joining tonight. This is going to be so helpful for many participants in the future. And thanks everyone for joining on this call.
Thank you.
If you guys want to stream into the next call, we're going to be talking about archery, and that's in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye now.
See you guys soon. Bye, everyone. Bye, guys.